Automath did manage maximum SME IPOs. What's your perspective on this growing market?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I think it's a great question, quite encouraging to us. Yes, we have done maximum IPOs in fastest time span, and I think it's a great opportunity for growing companies, because listing on public markets was never an opportunity available to smaller units or growing companies, because of the norms, because of the processes, because of the costs involved. And that's how in 2010 Prime Minister Task Force was constituted, and one of the fundamental recommendation of that task force was that India should have a capital market for SME tailor-made to the growing companies, because we can't compare 5 crore or 10 crore IPO requirements with, let's say, 500 crore or 1000 crore or even 5000 crore. And that's how, but for this SME market, this listing was always remain an option open for only bigger companies. And that's how these smaller companies were dependent only on government grants, subsidies and bank loans. And with this SME capital market, I think this is a great platform for raising growth capital for smaller units. And I'm happy to share that even a company with less than 5 crore of turnover can and do has become listed on SME market, and companies of even more than 600 crore turnover have become listed on this platform. So it's a great opportunity, and we are kind of positioning ourselves as thought leaders in this market. We are making a lot of awareness campaigns. We are coming out with research publications to make this concept more and more popular, to take SME concept to the doorstep of SME entrepreneurs, so that they can take optimum benefit of this platform and in turn create wealth for the shareholders and other stakeholders of companies concerned.
How important is SME to the economy, and how this platform is going to help SMEs?
I mean, SMEs are very important kind of contributors to any economy, and India is no exception. If you see some of the macro figures, SMEs contribute 60% of employment in India. SMEs contribute 40% of exports from India. SMEs also account for more than 47% of manufactured output. So if you compare the complete macro kind of scenario, the SMEs as a pool together or as a sector, they perhaps are equally important, if not more, compared to larger enterprises. And this platform is giving that growth opportunity to these companies, that they can also come to public, take capital at initial stage. They are not merely dependent on private capital as was the case earlier, or bank loans. They can take public capital now, and with this money they have, perhaps the whole growth cycle has been preponed, and with this money in fact companies are growing leaps and bounds, and they are doing wonders. Some of the companies which have got listed, for example GICO products, they are doing now the forward integration into biofuel, thermal power. They have imported complete plant from overseas. Companies like Ambition Mica, which is into laminates manufacturing, they are doing the backward integration and they have gone for resin manufacturing. Companies like Valentine Group, who's a leading manufacturer of loungewear, marketing and manufacturing, they are now forayed into retailing. So those companies which are, let's say, anywhere between 5 crore, 10 crore turnover to, let's say, 100 crore, 200 crore turnover, they have been now seeing a new ray of hope by raising capital, raising funds which they need for growth, and they are, in fact, the business has got tremendous boost after listing in many of these SME companies.
Recently, your IPO of Agrophos garnered record subscription of about 250 crores. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, we are very encouraged with this because a lot of people perceive that perhaps this is not the market for this kind of fundraising, but we took this company with very right kind of strategy, and for the first time SME market has seen more than 200 crore of subscription. The IPO got subscribed by more than 17 times, and very happy to share that even the number of applications, close to 10,000 people applied in this SME IPO. So on all counts, I think this is a new trend setting IPO, and in fact I have to talk of the overall scenario of this year particularly. We are witnessing a new trend emerging in SME IPOs, and there have been even press reports that now SME trends is gradually started catching up with main board trends in terms of subscription, in terms of participation of investors. So whether it is, let's say, IPO of Whitley Restaurants which got oversubscribed by 7 to 8 times, whether it's IPO of Cisco Industries which got oversubscribed by 10 times, IPO of DRA Consultant which got oversubscribed by 13 times. And we at Pantomath are indeed pleased to have lead managed most of these IPOs which have got oversubscribed, and after IPO they have given very handsome returns in the market. The 10 rupee stock of Whitley is now getting traded at more than 100 rupees. 12 rupee stock of market research company MRSS is now getting traded close to 150, 160. The Comsin, which was again a 7-8 crore IPO, got subscribed to the extent of more than 55 crore. The 24 rupee stock has peaked 75 rupee in just 4 months. So there have been a lot of such stocks which have given very good returns to the investors, and that's how more and more number of investors and increased classes of investors have started looking at IPOs being managed by Pantomath. There have been cases now gradually where even the institutional investors and large brokerages, corporate treasuries, which have now started exploring SME stocks, and we are now encouraged that gradually even the bigger players have started supporting SME, which was perhaps not the case earlier. Of course, institutional participation is yet far below from expectation, but I am sure with this kind of trends and this kind of performance, we will get support of the larger players, the institutional players, banks, mutual funds in our next endeavors on SME capital markets.
How SME companies can migrate onto main board?
I mean, there's a great opportunity of these companies migrating onto the main board. There have been already cases where 19 companies have got migrated from SME to main board. There were a lot of apprehensions at the beginning that how it will be possible, whether it will be possible, in what form it will be possible, it will come with certain processes and cost. But I am very pleased to share that exchanges are facilitating the migration. It's a very easy process, and any company which has been listed on SME market and with a capital of more than 10 crores paid up capital, the companies can seamlessly get listed or rather migrated from SME onto the main board.
What policy changes you think should be looked upon to further broad-based SME market?
Very interesting and kind of good question. I would say that now that we are nearing 5 years of completion of SME market, there are some policy changes or policy reviews which are due, and the foremost being to invite institutions and larger treasuries into these SME markets. We have been in discussion with most of them, and there are some discussion points in terms of size, in terms of exit strategies, in terms of the liquidity. So we need to review that how we can invite those players and further broad base or further strengthen this market. I think a concept of priority investing should be introduced in the market, where like how we have priority lending for SME debt or SME loans, even the equity investment can be covered under that scheme, so that banks and other financial institutions are encouraged to support SME market. And secondly, there have been suggestions on lot size and some of the norms on some of the trends in secondary market. We need to further make it more vibrant as far as secondary operations are concerned. So those are the kind of policy reviews I think if we collectively look at, I'm sure this market with these policy changes will be a very, very potential market, and we will perhaps be happy to be part of this entire ecosystem to lay down a good, promising, progressive market for next 5 to 10 years. And I'll not be surprised if this market even crosses or exceeds the main board. That's the kind of potential we have. In India, we have more than 40 million 4 crore SME units, and even if we have 1% of them in over, let's say, next 5 years or so, or even 10 years, I think it's going to be a huge market for the companies, for the intermediaries, for the investors, and the entire market at large.
What can be done more to improve further liquidity in SME stocks?
Basically, I perceive that SME market is more of a capital formation market. It's not a trading platform, because the companies have come from a very initial stage. They need growth capital, they need some time to kind of get on to the next level, and it's not a market where, let's say, one trades intra day or even short term for short term gain. This is basically for market for helping company grow and then perhaps partner in the growth of the market, and that's how most of these SME IPOs, at least managed by us, have given very handsome returns of even 4 times, 5 times, or some companies have given even 10 times returns in a year to 2 years horizon. So those who have been with the company for a longer term, they have clocked very handsome returns, and in turn they have partnered with the growth of the companies. So to me, it's kind of a soft private equity, soft PE platform, where it's combining the features of private equity and public listing in a very optimistic and very energetic way, where companies are public, there's an exit platform, and at the same time the investors with longer term are there with the company who are partnering the growth. So liquidity to me may not be the concern, so to say, fundamentally, because there is a mechanism of market making. So even if somebody wants to sell but there is no buyer, market maker acts as a counterparty. Similarly, if somebody wants to get in and there is no seller, market maker will sell out of the inventory maintained by the market maker. Having said so, yes, the liquidity in some of the stocks which we have got listed recently, and also some of the stocks comparatively now they are having improved liquidity. Stocks of let's say some of the stocks of Comsin, or even other stocks like Midley or Cisco, they are having, even Valentine, they are having very good liquidity, and there are cases where investors have exited. Even larger investors who have been part of primary, they could exit. It's a very transparent system. All the names are there in block deals on the exchange platform. So liquidity is improving, and I am sure with the bigger players coming in, with more and more brokerages, large brokerages started looking at it, liquidity is improving, and perhaps even the lot size criteria that can be relaxed after some time, maybe after 6 months or so. If lot size is reduced, then it will give a lot of boost to the liquidity, because still people find it not very convenient to trade in lot sizes of a particular amount, and at times because of this lot size of initial 1 lakh rupees, but if the share prices increase during a period before which stock exchange reviews the lot size and adjusts, at times the lot size is even of more than 5 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, 4 lakh rupees. So I think that is also somehow, if that lot size can be reviewed and that can be mitigated, of course with the required checks and balances, safety net procedures for investors, I think this market will perhaps see much improved liquidity.
Any tips you would like to give to the investors to select a good SME stock?
I mean, we basically cannot comment on any stock specific tips, but I think some of the stocks which have given fundamentally good returns, they are there. More than 50% of our stocks, the IPOs which have been lead managed, they have given more than 100% returns. So I am sure investors have now getting more and more confidence on Pantomath, and all IPOs lead managed by Pantomath are being supported and encouraged by a lot of investors, including HNIs, including even larger players, including the institutions. So my request would be to go through the company fundamentals, and all those stocks which have good fundamentals, good growth potentials, I am sure they will be a very good investment bet for investors.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
लाइट बंद करें.